Welcome to everyone once again, and good afternoon. So, welcome to the session on difficult relationships at workplace and how to manage. This is one of the key issues that we face at workplace, right? What difficult relationships do to us? One, they take away or they deplete our peace of mind. Number one. Number two, they also hinder our progress. They hinder our progress because interpersonal skills happens to be one of the most important competencies at workplace today, right? So we will learn more about how to manage such relationships at workplace and still be productive and also keep the teamwork productive intact. So we have Mr. Ramakrishna with us to take us through this session to impart insights and knowledge into this topic. So Mr. Ramakrishna is a psychologist and a management coach by profession, and he's also a meditator by passion. He's been practicing meditation, for several decades now. So he also is passionate about training people on meditation as well. So he has a history of having worked with several startups and having mentored many people who have started, been CEOs of startups on issues relating to workplace culture, interpersonal skills, how to build competent teams, etc. He has done his master's in science of psychology and management. He has done MS in counseling and psychotherapy, and he also did his MPhil in organizational psychology. Plus, he holds an MBA in crisis management and human resources. So without taking much time further, I request Mr. Ramakrishna to take us through the session. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Suresh. Thank you, Samina. Hope everyone are fantastic. Happy meeting all of you. And appreciate Ethica Work Life for bringing this session for everyone. And when I was just thinking about relationships, especially with respect to work place, I thought I would share a small casual note before I begin. Sometimes when I was talking to someone, when I was discussing about it, it was mistaken as relationships at workplace. Okay, relationships at workplace is totally different from that of having good work relationships. Okay, today we are primarily focusing on discussing about work relationships. Let's try to see the organization with an overall wider perspective. Day-to-day interactions, everyone has different type of experiences. Some good, some challenges, some bad, some uncomfortable, or some very motivating experiences. Out of which we all look at those circles in and around us where we have interactions. Psychology basically says that wherever there is an interaction, there is an influence. Let it be from one side to the other or from the other side to the other. But definitely there will be some influence. And that influence can be rewarding, or that influence can be enriching, and that influence can be depleting also. And it primarily focuses not on what is being communicated rather than how a person takes that interaction or the information into themselves. It is not on the basis of what comes to us that we are influenced. It is more on the basis of how we take that which comes to us, which creates that influence. So here, an organization is a set of people, group of people with different talents, with different skill sets, with different capabilities, with different personalities, with different behaviors, with different perspectives, coming together to form a group and to take up such responsibilities which could contribute towards the primary mission of the organization. And now in this whole process, when there is a lot of alignment which takes place between the people, and a lot of communication alignment takes place between the people, there is something called as synchronization which takes place. The other term with which we work in this area deals primarily with the word synergy. Okay, synergy is a beautiful concept. When a person is able to do an amount of work in a period of time, when two persons togetherly do, they do 2x of it. But synergy is that when two persons togetherly form into that activity with a lot of synchronization, harmony, and with a lot of mental communication, and with a lot of good wishes and supportive mindsets, then it is not just 2x which comes out of it. It is more than that. It is 3x which comes out of it. So that difference of 2x to 3x is the synergy. Synergy is a very, very powerful element, especially in the work environment, when there is a lot of mental synchronization that takes place. Many times, a verbal communication is also not required. Leave apart the written communication, the emails. But even the verbal communication is not required. And people just understand each other's minds, understand what the other person requires in the team, what support is required, and what is it that I, as an individual, can contribute towards the team's objective. This happens very automatically in the minds, subconscious minds of the people. And then the working environment itself is totally different. I happen to go to the paramilitary forces and also the military forces, border security forces, and different other military forces. And I observe them, the operations which they conduct. They have a very, very standard operating procedures. And in that standard operating procedures, time, position, and that synchronization is very, very important to them. And when they operate with a lot of energy and a lot of timing. That perfection is there. And then in this whole process, they save seconds in operations, and those seconds are very, very crucial. And I was just crucially observing how they are working. What are the different operational objectives and the mindsets which they are working? Especially in critical conditions, in practices, when they're doing, they practice that element of eliminating all the other thoughts and just focusing on what they have to do. On the other dimension is beautifully, they are co-workers working together, but still they practice another beautiful discipline. And that discipline is when they are in action. The personal communications or personal feelings and personal traits which they individually share many a times in other periods of time, all those things are kept aside. Their primary focus at that point of time is to operate in such synchronization that everyone becomes an asset and strength to the other person. This discipline has made them to operate very, very nicely. And now I come out with one concept and one element here. An organization is a microcosm of the society. In society, we see so many things. It's a combination of different elements coming together and operating. You have politics in the society. There are so many dynamic negative elements in the society. There's a lot of miscommunications, misinformation, and there are a lot of conflicts, there are violations, there are disturbances, and at the same time, there are good things that are also happening in the society. An organization is a microcosm of this society, especially different organizations work in a different dimensions. People come from different cultures. They join into the organization. Organization has its own cultures in a period of time which develops on the basis of the vision and the mission of the organization. At the same time, the the founders of the organization or the corporation. If it is an MNC, there are different other countries where they operate, all of them, they amalgamate into the culture of the organization. All these things contribute around. There is a local effect, there is a global effect, and there is an internal organizational culture, then internal team culture, which is also influencing. Together, a work environment is created. Whenever a person reaches out to a work environment, the person can understand or feel what that environment is like. Even in your environment, if you are in neutral state, detaching yourself from all the external feelings or the internal feelings which you get out of reactions, neutralize and just observe what's there around you, you experience what's the culture of the organization at that point of time. And this culture changes, improves, or deteriorates on the basis of the people who join, on the basis of the personalities who influence, on the basis of what you create. And then here plays an important role, and that important role is the role of the leadership. When you speak about leadership, it is not always about from top to the bottom leadership. I always try to understand who is the leader in any organization, in any group, in any team, who actually is the leader. Is it the person who has been delegated as a team lead or a manager or a lead in the whole organization there at that point of time, or the person who really creates an impact? Sometimes it is very, very surprising to see. I take the joy of interacting with people in organizations, and whenever I'll be meeting the groups, I keenly observe who actually is the leader in this whole group. Many a times, believe me, many a times I've seen people not in key roles who are in very ordinary roles, but have a very powerful impact of leadership on the whole group. Okay, leadership is not hierarchy. Leadership is always motivational. Leadership is always inspirational. Leadership is that field which the whole groups looks at the time of crisis, or at the time of joy, or at the time of situation where some support is required. Where do you look at? Where that the organization, the group looks at? They are those the leaders. And let me say one very simple thing. These are the impact creators in the groups. Let it be positive or let it be negative. Now, let's come to the difficult situations which we see and which we face in the organization. So let me tell you one basic element is here in the difficult situations. Are you looking at those situations in a state of mind of a victim? Or are you looking at those situations or people or scenarios or events or incidents which are happening around with a feeling of a victim, or with a feeling of a person who is taking those things as improving opportunities? Okay, there are a lot of communication gaps. People can complain that there are so many communications gap in the organization or in these people. There's a lot of communication gap, but some people can consider that as an opportunity. And can you just think about that element wherein which you can bridge that communication gaps? What happens if you become that bridge? It's an opportunity. Challenging situations and difficult situations in organizations or in groups or companies is a quite natural thing, because it is a microcosm of the society. And then how am I looking at that? Am I looking at it as an improvement, developmental opportunity, or am I looking at it as a complaint, as a pain point, which comes out as a complaint, or the person is looking at this scenario as something contribute? Leader emerges as a contributor. Okay, and it is these situations which really bring about that element of contribution. There are different things which have an impact. Okay, There are political things which are happening in organizations. There is gossip which takes place in the organizations. There is a lot of communications taking place or miscommunications taking place, and there is a lot of conflicts arising. There may be a need for confrontation sometimes. And how do people handle difference of opinions? All these things, small and big, have an impact in the overall behavior of the people. And now, as an individual, when you look at these scenarios, how to handle difficult situations and difficult people? Actually, there is nothing called as difficult people or difficult situation. You may have observed, whenever you face a challenge and when you overcome that challenge, the moment you overcome the challenge, and next time if the same type of challenge comes, it no more affects you. It no more strongly affects you. As you have already created that ability to overcome that challenge, the way you look into that challenge completely changes. And that's where a crucial point comes. That is your potential, optimization of the potential in handling difficult situations in people. The most common things when you interact with people, the difficulty comes in communication, the difficulty comes in intention, the difficulty comes in the behavior, the difficulty comes in emotions, playing with emotions, and difficulty comes with how people use the situations towards their advantage or other people's disadvantage. And then confrontation, conflicts, resolution, all these things come into the difficult scenarios. Let's take one example. How do you deal with difference of opinions? Okay, how do you deal with difference of opinions? When there are strong difference, especially when you feel that there are very strong difference of opinions, how do you deal with very strong difference of opinions? What happens when you strongly differ with the person? A very sensitive but very interesting element comes here. Whenever we have strong difference of opinions with others, do we say, hey, come, let's have some coffee and have a discussion? Or do you say, today you're looking fantastic? Or do you start saying that the task you have done recently, you did it extraordinarily, and with a positive remark? Then do you come into a difference of opinion, that a very strong difference of opinion? Or these difference of opinions are associated with negative emotions? What do you think? I want people to share in the group, chat in the group. How do you differ when there is strong difference of opinions? How do people communicate in your groups? Okay. Yeah. I may request you two people to be a bit interactive in the group so that I understand, positive, negative. No, I just wanted to ask, what's your experience when people strongly differ with each other? How do they differ? How do they differ? Do they differ very positively? They differ negatively? Are there emotions in the differences? Is there any element of aggression in the difference? How do people differ? What's your experience when you are having strong difference of opinion between colleagues or strong difference of opinion with your boss, with your co-workers? How do you feel? How do you communicate it? Or how people communicate with each other? Yes, yes. Gangadhar, nicely said. You said positive, negative, positive technique, very high level of aggression. Yes, Samina, right? Through conviction and emotion, lovely. Okay, mostly they are out of control of emotion. Yeah, why does it happen? Good, yeah. How does this happen? And why do we associate negative emotions with strong difference of opinions? Actually, I see that they're not difficult people or good people or easy people. They're only different ways they behave. Okay, they are difficult behaviors which create an outcome of lot of communications and disturbances. Here, as we are taking this example of strong difference of opinions, unconsciously, right from our learning periods, right from our childhood, we started associating negative emotions to difference of opinions. Friends, it is just difference between people on their perspectives of a particular situation or scenario. It is difference of opinions. It is not difference between people. And unconsciously, knowingly or unknowingly, people associate difference of opinions with difference between people. The whole problem comes here. It is not difference between people. It is difference of opinions on issues. It is not difference between people. It is difference on situations and opinions on issues. Difference of opinions on issues is taken personally and considered as difference between persons. The reason is we associate negative emotions into it. Somewhere or the other, ego of the other person is pricked, and then it is personally communicated with the emotions, then the difference of opinions becomes more emotional venting out processes. Is it possible that we have very strong difference of opinions, but in a very, very healthy, we smile at the people, we say hi, hello, we appreciate the other qualities of the person, or we even take that opinion and say that, yes, this can be a perspective. And this can be a very right perspective. And I have another perspective which I would like to keep before everyone. I have a different opinion. Let me share it with you. That the way the art of communicating, especially the differences, and the art of taking, there is another art of absorbing. Okay, filtering process. Okay, when you're making your coffee, you filter the residue away with the liquid, you separate it, the decoction, you take it and use it. In the same way, everything comes in crude way. But out of that crude way, what you allow to percolate into yourself and absorb into yourself makes an impact. First of all, practicing emotional neutrality is a beautiful, beautiful art. Okay. It's an ability to filter things, filtering emotions out of information or communication, and taking the required element into the mind, eliminating the other and filtering off the other unnecessary emotions into it, makes the person internally strong. This strength makes a person to be more objective, more functional, more optimistic, and then in a realistic perspective, a person can move forward. Friends, I would say a very important element here. Work is for life. And life is not just work. Work is a very important part of life. But work itself is not life. Okay? We come to contribute something together to build up something into the society. And then we leave and get into our own personal lives. But I always consider one important element, and that is, where are you spending the most quality of your time of your day? The most important and quality time of your day, where do you spend? As you observe, the whole right from the morning, you wake up, you start getting ready, and you go for your morning walks, you go for your fitness exercises, you have your nutritious food, and then get ready, dress it up and get ready and travel a lot and to reach to one place. Of course, now we are doing work from home, that's a different activity altogether. But you reach to a place to contribute something. And then after that, you spend some time till the evening and then move and go back. You travel, you go back to your place and you spend the evenings there. You retire from the day and again take a rest. But you see, the most quality time of the day you spend at your workplace. or at work. So what I say, when you're investing your most qualitative time in the workplace, the most qualitative experience that you should get, okay, from the life, from the day, should also be from the workplace. It is always energy, a transfer of energy when it comes to the interactions. I see the most aggressive are those people.
I don't know what you mean by.
Siri is coming up and saying her thoughts here in between the session. Sorry for the interruption. See, in psychology, it's being explained that aggression has an inverse image. Okay, externally, aggression looks to be very powerful, but internally, it is a very different response. Aggression is a reaction, but the internal response is pain. Okay, anger is a royal form of crying. Anger is a royal form of venting out that painful emotions. People who are aggressive actually are those people who are helpless. Aggression looks to be powerful, but actually these people who are very, very aggressive are actually seeking help. That is a cry for help. That is a helpless state wherein which person vents out with aggression. If you look, there is an alternative to aggression, and that beautiful alternative is assertiveness. Aggression is like, I am right and you are wrong. When the person looks at a situation with the perspective that I am right and you are wrong, and whenever there is an aggression between people in a group, there is always this element of I am right and you're wrong. But you see, there is another way of doing the same thing, and that is I am right and you are also right. Okay, that approach gives you assertiveness. Assertiveness is appreciating the ability of other person's thoughts and the perspectives, the rightful perspectives of the other person, but at the same time, keeping your point also in a very, very conviction way. And maybe negotiate. There are different other ways apart from aggression. Different other ways is you can have dialogue, you can have discussion, you can have negotiation. Okay. And then you can come to decision-making process. Different stages of decision-making process can come into existence. But now, you may start practicing it, but people who don't practice it, how to deal with those people? People with aggression, yeah, they have a strong need to be listened to. Okay, it is not about whether you accept it or not, but there is a strong need to be listened to. And then, if that need can be understood and can be addressed to, the person becomes soft. Okay, and these perspectives which the person shares are sometimes to prove themselves, or sometimes to say that I am right and you're wrong. Okay, now the question is, are you ready to win the argument, or do you actually want to win the argument, or do you actually want to win the situation? That plays a very important role. These emotional needs, these psychological needs, okay, play a very different role in the whole organization or in the people who are in and around you. Sometimes insubordination, and sometimes arguments, sometimes conflicts. The root cause, if you just go into it, they are different contributors to the main problem. And the solutions are really very, very simple. The simple things, if you say, is everyone has a different need. And if you are able to look into that need, which is mostly the psychological dimension, and then if you deal with the person understanding that need, maybe you'll be able to handle them in a very simple way. Sometime back, a young boy reached to me with a problem which the boy was facing, which is bullying in schools and colleges. We commonly see this element. When the boy was mentioning He's being bullied by so many people around, and a group forms and they start bullying, and that becomes very, very painful for the boy, and very difficult to handle, and the boy doesn't want to go to the educational institution. And here comes the point. Now, how to deal with that situation? The boy tries to give a lot of importance for these people who criticize and tries to defend himself for himself. And then the real problem comes. And the real problem, the more the boy is trying to defend, the more they try to provoke him, or the more comments and criticism comes. And in that scenario, then when we discussed, okay, the typical behaviors of these people who behave like that, okay, and the more the boy defends, the more complicated it becomes. Now, the boy starts learning ignoring them, or he starts learning minimal response, and he starts bringing it to the notice of people around, or then he starts confronting in a very confident and in an assertive way, okay, wherever it is required, with having a mediation, some things really work. Sometimes I see that people, though they grow physically, but still that childhood mentalities doesn't go. They do the same thing in the organizations as well. They're physically grown, they grow by age, but their mindsets do come into the organizations as well. And those things definitely have an impact on the sober people, or those people who are soft, who are sensitive. And now, how do you, when you understand that you are a sensitive person, how do you handle these situations? How do you handle interference? Okay, the best way to handle interference is, or not fueling them. Whenever you fuel them, you are actually increasing that element of interference. Okay, you can have a choice of whether taking it or breaking it. If you take it, you can't break it. That gets complicated. The more importance you give, the more interference it takes place. If you want that minimalization of the interference, you need to be very, very objective. If you're responding to criticism, of course, there is healthy criticism, it's different. But if someone just criticizes for the sake of criticism, the more you respond, you're actually fueling it. Or you have another beautiful way of conversating, which are simple questions you can ask, where you can open up some things by asking open questions. You can close a conversation by just speaking with small questions, or like the closed questions. Closed questions are those questions wherein which you seek an answer of yes or no from a person to break a conversation and to lead a conversation into a different dimension. It is a very, very powerful and a very simple tool, wherein which wherever a conversation gets complicated, then there you can introduce a simple closed question and then navigate the whole conversation into a different dimension. And admitting, self-admitting, whenever there is, everyone has their own good qualities of efficiency, and at the same time, there are some things which everyone has within themselves which are not so perfect. And it actually requires courage and honesty for a person to admit that. And the more open you are with yourself, and the more open you can express out the moment you don't hide yourself, then your ability to handle the reality becomes, you increase that element very strongly within yourself. And friends, when you, even before a person, any other person, okay, makes fun of you, if you are able to laugh at yourself, if you're able to smile at yourself, maybe some act of small little act, which may not be very good by you, and you are able to openly say it out, and that gives a lot of what you call strength within yourself, which even before anyone says anything, you are able to say it to yourself. That is one dimension of bringing yourself into the reality. Another beautiful thing which really helps us is acceptance. Let it be in personal relationships or let it be in our official relationships, office relationships, I say. So here, acceptance is that element wherein which you'll not try to look at perfection in each and every person. It is strength to strength. Okay. In the attempt to make people more efficient or people work more perfectly, okay, we sometimes unconsciously contribute towards weakening the person. The repeated expressions of shortcomings will weaken a person. We need to remember that. Okay, every individual is a leader, and every individual is also reporting to someone. Okay, there are people who are reporting to you, and there are people to whom you will be reporting. The best way of dealing with improvement in the workplace environment is start with those people who are reporting to you. Okay, when they say starting those people reporting to you, what you're looking at them, what is your subconscious perceiving about them? Okay, if you can silently look into your opinions towards the people, is it towards strength to strength or is it towards weakness to strength? When it is always about weakness to strength, you'll find yourself correcting people around you, or the other people always correcting you. And there is another beautiful approach is strength to strength, where you'll be looking at the strengths and specialities of each and every individual and start acknowledging them or appreciating them for everyone. The moment you start doing that, okay, let it be your subordinates or let it be your seniors as well. You have a power to create an impact. And then you're moving from strength to strength. The dimension, the moment you start acknowledging that special quality, because each and every individual has some special qualities within themselves. And those qualities will be coming into the work environment as well. There are some arts which everyone will have, okay, professional arts also. There are some qualities which people would be having. There are some strengths which people would be having. There are some values which people would be having. These qualities, if you are bringing them and surfacing them, okay, if you're able to identify those special qualities in each and every other person and mentally developing an attitude towards looking at people with that in your mind, immediately the quality of relationship starts changing. No matter how bad a relationship, quality of a relationship is there, if you'll be changing opinions in your mind, the perspectival dimension towards looking at a shortcoming or looking at a strength of an individual in your mind and then start approaching that person, the quality of the conversation will start changing. And this has an impact in your communications and relationships. Okay, here it comes that different types of relations you'll be experiencing. There may be friends, there may be perceived foes, okay, and there may be contributing colleagues, okay, there may be co-workers, there may be a mentor in the workplace, a mentor in a workplace, and there may be a work-related friend or from other organization where you worked in the past, okay, who is not before you right now, but somewhere at some other place that person is there. But you see, you observe this person, is he a lifetime asset for you? No matter you have left that company or the organization, but still that person is in contact. You people interact. And those persons and you people discuss. And these interactions in this way, you create long-term relationships as well. And they become, you may be at different locations, maybe different geographical locations, or maybe different countries as well, but still that communication and interaction takes place. And these communications has a very good contribution. Okay, so it is always about giving and taking. The age-old quote which says, give respect and you will get respect, give cooperation and you will get cooperation. It is always about contribution. Any relationship, basis of any relationships comes with a very important element, and that element is what is the quality of contribution that you are going to invest into that relationship. Okay, what is that contribution which strengthens the group, which actually creates that importance or creates that reception of contribution towards the group. So these are some small, simple ways of dealing with people around us, understanding the psychological needs, looking at the behavior very objectively, than that of trying to change the behavior. Observance gives a powerful contribution. These small elements has a very lot of impact on the people, on the organizations as well. And sometimes when it really comes a difficult situation, there are some questions which you can ask for yourself. Does it really matter? Are you giving so much of importance to that it is creating an impact on you? Or does it really matter? Do you need to give that much importance? Then comes another dimension. Have you explained your perspective or your position in the way you are actually experiencing it, in such a way that other persons can understand it? Okay, keeping emotions and feelings aside. Okay, for example, if something is happening, why at all that is happening? What could be the root cause which is contributing towards that scenario, which you may not be liking, but it is happening? So why at all something is happening? Okay, and can both of you or together check out a minimal program which can add on to a contribution towards that person and also this person simultaneously? Both of them can come into an acceptable understanding. Okay, are you offering yourself to patiently listen to the other person? Okay, when we patiently listen to the other person, the energy which comes into the mind, maybe sometimes negative, sometimes something has to be communicated. If we patiently listen to the other person, okay, we eliminate or minimize all the possibilities of the person sharing that with some other person. Okay, when that contribution, when that interaction takes place, and where you're patiently listening, empathetically listening, or listening with lot of attention, okay, understanding, and then the other person contributes and eliminates the emotion or the feelings which are unrealistically pent up inside the person. That can be in any scenario. Unnecessary things also, misunderstandings can also lead to so much of unpleasantness. And when you're have I contributed to presently listen to the other person? If so, that perspective is slowly getting reduced. You would have read the beautiful book of 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. Here, there is one beautiful element which Stephen Covey explains here, and that is the paradigm shift. The paradigm shift takes place. We are looking at a scenario in our dimension. When we are able to look at the same scenario in the dimension of the other person also, the moment we listen to it, the other person's dimension also, and we connect to the root, then the whole paradigm shift can possibly take place. We may be looking in a situation in a different dimension. Okay, sometimes handling work pressure. Work pressure is a part of daily life. Then there are some other elements, proper time management, proper energy management, at the same time, objective thinking, okay, and then analyzation of the problem, going into the root cause of the situation, and then working for common minimal solutions which can contribute towards everyone. These are some small little efforts which can contribute towards harmonious relationships at workplace. And I will open this session for a few questions. If anyone would like to ask any question, they can chat in the chat box so that we can discuss on that. Any questions?
Yeah, if anybody has any questions, please use the chat bot, or you can also unmute yourself and talk to Mr. Ramakrishna. In the meanwhile, sir, as we get the questions, we want to thank you for such an insightful session. I think you've given a new perspective to the way we generally tend to think. So this will be very, very useful. Thank you so much for being part of the session and sharing all these insightful techniques and tips for us.
Thank you, Sam.
Suresh,
So-
can you also put in the word
Yeah,
around the WhatsApp community that we are planning, please?
Yes. So firstly, thank you, Ramakrishna garu. Thank you, sir. Very insightful,
Thank you, Suresh ji.
and your passion was visible while you were talking on this subject. And all. So thanks a lot for that, and thanks to everyone for participating in this session. We would request you to, share feedback about this session on the Facebook link that is provided here. The same link will also be shared with you on email, so you can even click there and share. And more importantly, we are trying to build a community where all of us, the participants in such sessions, we're going to conduct such sessions in future also on various topics. Participants of such sessions can form one group on WhatsApp, and we can exchange ideas and thoughts for personal development and help each other with insights on very relevant topics like this. So we would invite you to join the WhatsApp group. Now, the link for the WhatsApp group is also shared here in this session in the chat box. So please click on that and join the WhatsApp group. And alternately, as I mentioned, you can even join by clicking the link that is going to be sent to your email. Okay. So thank you so much. Thanks everyone, and thanks Ramakrishna garu once again.
Thank you. Thank you, Suresh.
Thanks. Bye.